All right, my friends, it's T-Man, and I'm back with, I guess you could call this an educational video. I've been saying I was going to do a video on this, so I'm going to do a video on it about steroids, bro, yeah. A very powerful hormones, artificial hormones. They're not your human hormones, but yeah. Okay, so this is PubMed, it's a short version. Effects of anabolic steroids on the muscle cells of strength trained athletes. Oh, strength trained athletes, bro. So we're gonna read this section. I'm gonna read this section, man, and just I'll talk about it a bit. Okay, it's really short. Athletes who use anabolic steroids get larger and stronger muscles. Ooh, they get larger and stronger muscles. They do they? How this is reflected at the level of the muscle fibers has not yet been established and was the topic of this investigation. It has not been established because in science they'll tell you that steroids they themselves do not build muscles. What builds a myofibrillar? Well, fucking stem cells build myofibrillars, dude. Cells do. Steroids, they don't build that. There are molecules, but they can aid in it by protein synthesis and stuff like that, ramping it up. And I'll explain that too in a bit, how it does that, why it does that. Muscle biopsies were obtained from the trapezius muscles of high-level powerlifters who have reported the use of anabolic steroids in high dosages, very high, for several years, and they were lifting for several years, and from high-level powerlifters who have never used these drugs. Enzyme immunohistochemical investigation was performed to assess muscle fiber types, fiber area, myonuclear number, frequency of satellite cells, and fibers expressing developmental protein isoforms. All right. The overall results. The overall muscle fiber composition was the same in both groups. So the muscle fiber composition was the same in both groups. The mean area for each fiber type of the reported steroid user was larger than that of the non-steroid. So the mean area for each fiber type in the reported steroid user was larger than that of the non-steroid user. And what is the mean area? Do you know what that is? It's energy, dude. Anyways, the number of myonuclei. Okay, so this is where it comes in. The number of myonuclei, that's the mean area. The number of myonuclei and the proportion of central nuclei were also significantly higher. Well, they have to be higher for that mean area to be bigger. So, okay, and the proportion of the central nuclei were also significantly higher. Well, yeah, it's the energy, they're filled up, yeah. Higher than the reported steroid users. Again. So likewise, the frequency of fiber expressing developmental protein isoforms was significantly higher in the reported steroid users. That's kind of obvious. All right, conclusion. What is the conclusion? Intake of anabolic steroids and strength training. So listen to this word. It isn't just anabolic steroids. If you take anabolic steroids and you do strength training, induce an increase in muscle size. They increase in muscle size. And both hypertrophy and the formation of new muscle fibers. Okay, but they themselves do not form these new muscle fibers. They'll explain what will form those new muscle fibers. We propose the activation, it's the activation of satellite cells, is a key process and is enhanced. And when it's activated, it is enhanced by the steroid use because they're hormones, get it? Okay, so the incorporation of the satellite cells into pre-existing fibers to maintain a constant nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio seems to be a fundamental mechanism for muscle fiber growth. Although all the subjects in this study have the same level of performance, the possibility of genetic differences between the two groups cannot be completely excluded. That's all. But it's temporary because when you go off the drugs, it goes away. So do steroids build myofibrillars like it says here? The formation of new muscle fibers? No, they don't. They only build them when it's incorporated with what? Strength training. Without strength training, a steroid cannot build a new muscle fiber, bro. Get it? By itself. Not that I know of. Okay, here's the thing. If you were starving, if you were on a starvation diet, what's the first thing that happens in your body? What happens in your body? Well, your growth hormone goes up, right? And your testosterone goes sky high, right? That's why this lady, I watched this one lady, I did this video on it. Remember I talked about this one lady a long time ago. She was, remember that woman, she had that channel and she was like, she goes, oh, but I gained some muscle mass. I was starving. She was on those starvation diets and, oh, I gained some muscle mass. Of course you did. You gain muscle mass. What's that mass? Sarcoplasmic. It's an energy source. Remember, your body carries energy everywhere. It carries it in the fat cell, triglyceride, in the muscle cells, it carries it as glycogen. So it has to carry you through famines and certain things, and to contract your muscles, you need this energy. Without it, you'll be like, you can't even move without that energy. You can't move without that energy. If you were to stab a pole with a sword repetitively for 100 times, you kind of run out of some energy in there at some point, right? If you stab it, you don't have enough glycogen stores. And you stab and you stab and you stab forever, and then all of a sudden your arm just drops. Can't even move anymore. It can't contract anymore because it's lost energy. So these are a lot of things. What it does is, so when you're starving, it increases these hormones. They go really, really, really high. What are they doing now? Well, they're recycling protein. They're recycling protein and glycogen and these energy stores. They're recycling them for as long as they can to keep you alive. Okay, what happens? That's why they're sky high, the hormones. You're not building muscle when you're starving. That's why they go sky high. It's a protective effect, okay? It's to protect you. Okay, but you're doing it artificially now. You inject this hormone in your body artificially, right? Your body thinks, well, we're starving. You injected hormones, we're starving. Well, the hormones are up high, we have to do all these things. So it starts recycling proteins, glycogen and stuff. It starts retaining it in your body. And so instead of you starving, you're now eating a shitload of food, working out. It's going to retain a lot of this energy in the form of glycogen and stuff in your muscles. You're going to get more of these sarcoplasmic muscles, these phony muscles. Yeah. So that's what's really happening there. And as far as getting, forming new muscle fibers, that only happens in an adaptation. If these guys are getting muscle damage in an adaptation, you understand me? If they're getting that, then they're forming new muscle fibers. If they're getting that, that's the proposed part. We propose the activation of satellite cells if they're activated. So if they're not activated, they're not going to get any new muscle fibers, okay? They don't proliferate, differentiate, whatever, They're not doing that. So that's why, man. Steroids do not build muscles, okay, man? They don't build muscles. Now, they could build the sarcoplasmic fake muscles, and what is that? It's phony muscle growth, bro. You probably don't even know what that is. Look, myofibrillar hypertrophy refers to when the number of myofibrils increases. How do they increase? Through muscle damage. This causes muscles to increase in strength and density. Yeah, strength and density, because more muscle fibers equals what? More strength. And what does it do? It makes you dense. But it doesn't give you mass. What gives you mass? Well, the muscles also contain sarcoplasmic fluid. This fluid is an energy. It's a resource that surrounds the myofibrillars and the muscles. They add to the mass. They make you massive. Get it, bro? So yeah. Okay. So what activates satellite cells? Upon exposure to signals from what? Damaged environment. Satellite cells exit the quiescent state and start to what? Proliferate. Satellite cell activation. Yeah, that's what they do. Micro injuries activate the satellite cell. That's what it does. Then the powerlifters, the natural guys, they get it too if they're activating that. But it only ever happens in unaccustomed exercise. So yeah. Look. Unaccustomed eccentric exercise is known to cause what? Muscle damage and delayed pain, commonly defined as delayed onset muscle soreness. That's what causes it. Unaccustomed, untrained, unfamiliar forms. So unless they're doing things that they're unaccustomed or unfamiliar with, they're not getting that. The steroid people, dude. Yeah. So yeah, that glycogen in the muscle, that shit's fake, bro. That shit's fake. I don't know what to tell you there, man, but whatever. Look, I could type this up too. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is a kind of artificial muscle growth. You train the muscle for another reason than to visually increase its size. So it retains testosterone. Will retain a lot of that in there. A lot of that in there. I don't know if I can find a graph on here somewhere. Sometimes they put a graph here. That's one type of graph. See increases in glycogen, the factors that contribute to hypertrophy, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which focuses more on increased muscle glycogen storage, and myofibrillar hypertrophy focuses more on increase in myofibrillars. Well, that would have to be your training would have to be geared towards that, which it's really not, but whatever. Yeah. Hold on a second. I think I can't find that graph here. Uh, they tell you more about this stuff. I wish they would show that graph here. I can't find it. I don't know where it is. There's one. Explains there. Here's another one. Components of this. The cytoplasm is responsible for holding components in the cell, protects them from damage. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember where that graph is. Anyways, I have it in my community section. It's not important. But whatever, man. You get the gist of it, broski. So yeah, it holds a lot of this glycogen in the muscle. So there you go, man. So as far as the nuclei, pushing the nuclei, you're lifting a heavier weight. It's you're able to eke out more adaptations probably here to get some muscle damage, because the steroid allows you to lift heavier. It gives you a lot more force. That would cause a lot more damage to the weaker, deeper muscle fibers. Yeah. So maybe you'll get some adaptations, but it's still protecting muscle from building. Look, muscle builds muscle to protect it from building any more muscle. So they don't tell you how many fibers you got here, formation of new muscle fibers. They don't say. They just say here that it can induce this, the formation of new muscle fibers. Did they get them? I don't know. Maybe they got some. Maybe they got a little bit. Maybe they didn't get any. The repeated bout effect still kicks in too when you're on steroids as well. So, like I said, a lot of that phony look they're carrying is sarcoplasmic, and that can be very toxic. To carry all that glycogen in your muscle is toxic. That's why bodybuilding is an unhealthy sport. It's short-lived. People die doing that shit. Plus, the steroids are toxic themselves because they're from plants. They're toxic. And you're carrying toxicity in your body. The amount of glycogen that you're eating an artificial diet, which is filled with carbs. That's not your natural human diet. And so you're loading this shit. These plants are filled with toxins like oxalates. Can you imagine loading that in there? It comes inside your muscles, just sitting in there. It's just crazy. That's why they suffer from all kinds of psychological, physical problems, this, that, man. It's crazy. So yeah, it's not natural. It's not normal to do that. Don't load a lot of that stuff in your muscle. It's nasty. And the older you get and you do this, you may get an increase in prostate. Your prostate will enlarge. You'll have kidney, liver problems. You're going to have an array of problems if you try to keep increasing the sarcoplasmic fluid in your muscles just because you want to look jacked than the last time. Most people take steroids because they just want to look pumped. They want to look jacked. And it's a phony jack. Get it? because they're like, well, if I lift a heavy weight, I have to look the part. I have to look strong like the part that I lift a heavy weight. That's why, but that's not based. That's lifting a heavy weight, concentric contractions, producing a force production, has nothing to do with looking jacked, with sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, looking jacked. Get it? But if you do increase the myofibrillars, you definitely will increase the strength for sure. The motor units and the androgen receptors have somewhere to proliferate to give you more force production. These are all separate. These are all separate things. You are not an ant. You were not born with 75% muscle where you can lift 10 times your body weight. You have to practice at lifting weights because you're weak. All humans are, well, they appear weak. They're really not weak. We're bigger, therefore we're stronger than a lot of these smaller objects. But you're going to say you're weak because you can't lift 10 times your body weight like an ant. Well, there's no comparison. You have 40% of your body is made up of muscle. Well, ants, their body's made up 75% muscle. So there you go. So what are you comparing? Apples and oranges? That makes absolutely no sense. Anyways, I gotta go, man. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. I'll see you in the next one, broski. Ciao, my friends.